What is going on, everybody? This is Josh, back again with another video on Tech and Ish. Today's video is going to be about Mayans. The episode just came out of Season 2, Episode 8. And if you thought Episode 7 was good, this one is going to be even better. So keep on watching. I'm going to drop a lot of details, a lot of spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, then don't watch this video. Go check it out. It's really, really good. If you remember on the last episode, Easy ended up giving some paperwork to Emily, basically having her try to decipher whatever he ends up having. It looks like it was a manifest of a bunch of payments that were made, and he's trying to figure out if these payments actually came from Miguel or Miguel's father. So he's basically just trying to figure that out. Emily ends up doing some research. She's looking through a bunch of paperwork, and it looks like she's actually digging into this, and she found something. So it's going to be interesting on what's going to happen with this whole Miguel and Easy thing. I think they're going to end up getting into it, and I think Easy is going to end up killing Miguel. But then again, I kind of think that they're brothers, and they're going to find that out later on in the episodes or later on in the season. But I don't know. I'm hoping that this show does not get canceled. I'll let you know why I think it could be canceled, but let's wait on that. So Emily ends up texting Easy, letting him know that she found something. She ends up talking to him, and she's basically trying to make it seem like, why do you want this information? What is it that's in this that you needed? She already knows why he needs it, or maybe she has an idea of why. He ends up explaining to her about her mom, or about his mom dying, on how there was a hit that was put on his mom and his dad, and it came from the Mexican cartel. And that's how a lot of stuff is going to end up being handled with just this situation here, where Easy is trying to figure out who actually killed his mom or who ordered the hit. I think it was Miguel's father who ended up doing it, but then again, it could have been Miguel who did it. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about this one. As of right now, the only one who knows that there was a hit on Easy's mom and his dad is Easy, Angel, which is his brother, and now Easy ends up telling Emily about it. So now they all three know about it. So I don't know what's gonna happen to this, but you got to keep watching this. So what I liked about this episode is they end up referencing Sons of Anarchy a lot. They end up bringing Chips back into this. They end up bringing Montes back into this. And they also end up referencing Jax. There's certain things that he wanted done before he died or after he died. And that's what this whole sit down is about. The Mayans are basically having to meet at a certain location to talk to Sons of Anarchy, because they're going to start distributing guns. You know, the Mayans are like, well, why are we even involved into this? And Bishop ends up telling them, this is what Jax wanted. He asked for this. So we're actually doing this for him. You can tell that Miguel is being real suspicious of Emily. He's thinking that she's doing something. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking that he thinks that Emily is actually cheating on him with Easy, because, of course, they had a relationship. They almost ended up having a kid. So I think he's, having thoughts of her cheating on him. But she's not doing that. She's doing something else. Out of this whole season, the main person I hate that I wish that they would actually just kill this guy already is Potter. That guy, just his acting bothers me. The way everything about him just bothers me. He's threatening his sons, saying that if they don't provide some sort of evidence of, that they're somehow involved with all of this that's happening. Because if you remember on the last ones, they try to break Adelita out, and he kind of thinks that they had something to do with it, but he wants evidence. He somehow, Easy and Angel is supposed to provide that. If they don't, then Potter is going to end up calling ICE on Felipe, and they're basically just going to deport his ass. The Mayans finally arrive to their destination, and right when they get there, Easy is already getting shit from the other club, the other part of the Mayans. And it's this real fat guy and I guess his partner, and they're giving him a lot of shit. Now I know that since he's a prospect, he really can't do nothing. But I didn't know that if other people are picking on him, that his brother or anybody part of his club really can't say anything because he's a prospect. I didn't know that. So I was thinking that they're just gonna pick on Easy, and the Mayans weren't gonna do anything. But man, I was wrong. Now I don't know if you know this, but Felipe also goes by Ignacio. So when they end up talking about those two people, they're actually talking about the same person. Delia ends up meeting Felipe at her therapist's office, and she's basically just telling him a lot of stuff on how they actually used to be together back in the day, but it was dangerous for them to be together. And I think within that time, she ended up getting pregnant by Felipe, and that's when Miguel was born afterwards. But she's telling Felipe to not say anything. Don't tell anybody anything, because she feels like it's just going to destroy him. But it doesn't really talk about Miguel being Felipe's. It just talks about them being together, about she was unfaithful to Miguel's dad. So it just kind of talks about that. But I honestly think something else happened. I honestly think Miguel is Felipe's son. Now, this is the moment that I've been waiting for since I was watching this TV show. I was waiting for somebody from Sons of Anarchy to actually show up. Somebody who was actually a big character in Sons of Anarchy. Now, Hap was pretty big, but he was not as big as Chibs. I actually like this guy. His whole acting was, I liked his acting so much. And now he's actually the president of Sons of Anarchy. So I like the fact that they actually brought him back, and on top of that, they end up bringing Montes back as well. So I'm hoping that they end up coming in a little bit more, but who's to say? This whole sit down is just for them to try to talk about how they're going to be able to distribute guns. That way they can actually make more money. But they're having to deal with a lot of border issues on who's going to actually do it. And the conversation ends up coming up with they're going to have somebody in Tijuana who's going to end up, bringing guns. And it's going to be Los Vatos Malditos. And right from there, you can tell Bishop is like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this shit right now. You can tell he's kind of irritated or pissed because of the fact of, if you remember from the last episode, a lot of shit went down with them, and it's only going to end up getting worse from here. Now, of course, Chibs doesn't know anything about this. Not even Montes knows anything about this, because the only reason why they actually know Los Vatos Malditos is because of Montes. Montes knows somebody there, and they never even mentioned any beef that they had with the Mayans, and they're going to that sit down. So keep in tune, because what happens at this sit down, it's just crazy. Now, in this scene, I was actually hoping something ended up popping off between Easy and these guys, because, they just kept on bugging Easy, telling him to fill up the tank. Since he's a prospect, he's supposed to do what they tell him to. But he doesn't do anything unless his sponsor tells him to do something. And they basically don't like that. They end up throwing some money at him, saying, no, go fill up the tank, go grab some gas, fill up my tank. And, a heated argument's about to start. Coco ends up coming into the middle of it, tells him, you know what, I'm ordering you to fuck them up. And that's exactly what Easy ends up doing. He ends up headbutting the fat one, and that dude just falls down quick. He's already down. Then that other guy ends up jumping in, and he starts knocking Easy. He probably gets him with like maybe 2 hits, and then Easy just bombs his ass. He basically dominates him the whole time. I don't know why. I just like the way this whole thing was. It's like the whole brotherhood of them being all together. They're basically all down with each other. Even though he's a prospect, they still got his back no matter what. So I actually like this part a lot. Emily ends up going through the books a little bit more. She ends up finding old documents, and that's where she actually sees a lot of payments being made. And that's where I think she finally made up her mind that Miguel and his father had something to do with the hit on Easy's mom and his dad. So the Vatos Malditos finally come into the scene, and you can tell there's some tension in there. I thought that they were just going to start fighting, but since it's like a whole motorcycle club, it's like nobody's going to end up jumping off unless maybe Chibs says something. So I kind of feel like Chibs is like the main one that kind of keeps order within this whole thing. But in reality, I was hoping for a brawl to just happen. I was hoping that Vatos Malditos would just start fighting. The Mayans will end up kicking their ass, and basically Chibs is just there watching the whole thing. Now they're all trying to come up with an agreement on how much money one club is supposed to get rather than the other, and Vatos Malditos basically want the most money because the Mayans ended up killing about 9 of their guys, so they want all the money. Which, I mean, I kind of feel like, yeah, I mean, you right on that part. But then again, you were on their turf. You didn't call. You didn't do nothing. So in reality, you're still wrong for doing this. So the Mayans are right. But Chips just wants all this shit to like be settled. He basically tells him, you know what, you'll get 5% of Sons of Anarchy. You'll get 5% of our money. You'll also end up getting 5% from the Mayans for the next 2 years. And from that point on, I thought everything was going to be settled. They ended up standing up saying, nah, they want 20 because they should be getting more. But they finally come to an agreement. Chibs basically tells them, oh, just sit down and let's just take a drink. And that's basically where it's at. They end up leaving. Now there's this one guy who's outside and he's in a van. He has a tattoo on his hand. It's like Unik. I don't know what that really means. But he has it tattooed on his hand, and I thought that maybe he was like the leader of the club or of Vatos Malditos, or maybe he was just out there being a lookout. So it got to a point where everybody was basically leaving. Chibs and Sons of Anarchy were basically going to end up leaving, and the mines were starting to load up. And I was thinking, all right, I guess nothing's going to go down. They're going to end up taking the money, and they're just going to leave it as it is. But no, that's not what happens. So now if you remember, I told you that Easy and Angel were the only ones who knew about the hit that was on Felipe and his wife. And now Emily knows. Well, Emily ends up taking the paperwork that she found and she ends up giving it to Felipe. And now he knows what actually happened. And he's going to see that Miguel or his side of the family was the one who were paying the hitman to do the hit. All right, now this is the scene that was crazy. This is what made me want to talk about this as soon as I could. As I said, everybody is leaving. Vatos Malditos, they basically left. The Mayans, they stayed there because it looks like they're still loading up, or maybe they're just chilling back for now. Sons of Anarchy, they left. But out of the far distance, you end up seeing a van. Right from there, you end up seeing one of Vatos Malditos' crew throws kind of like a firebomb at the motorcycle. And right when they try to step out to look at it, they start shooting. And they actually hit some of the Mayans. So they start shooting at the Mayans, and Bishop ends up saying, let's go to the back. Let's try to get them through the side. Right when they end up going inside, they get ambushed because Vatos Malditos end up coming in through the side of the doors, and they start shooting. And they actually end up shooting Riz. So I thought that maybe no main characters were going to get hit, but Riz is kind of like a main character because you actually see him a lot. He ends up getting hit because he protected Taza, but they were able to defend themselves pretty good. Vatos Malditos basically just decided to leave. But before they left, this one guy ended up throwing another firebomb, and it basically hit Coco. And when you end up seeing Coco getting hit, I thought maybe it was his arm that got burnt because that's what it looked like. But right when they pick him up, it ends up being his face. Now, if you've been keeping up with the Mayans, you know that Coco is a sniper. So his shots are always on point. But now that the fact that he's going to have problems with his eyes, I think he's not going to be the best shot again. I'm hoping maybe it's just, minor burns that he'll be back. But then again, I don't know. And that's where it ends. Vatos Malditos left. They left all that destruction there. They try to get an ambulance out there for Riz. And that's basically where it ends. Now, this is episode 8. So there's only 2 more episodes left. And episode 9 looks like it's going to be really good too. It looks like the Mayans are going to end up getting their revenge. It shows Riz is still alive, but he's on a machine. It shows Coco with like an eye patch and he's like in a wheelchair. So I think he has some issues with his eyes. I'm hoping Coco actually ends up making it. I'm hoping his eye is actually good because he's actually one of my favorite characters in this. Only reason why I actually like this guy is because if you ever seen End of Watch with Michael Pena and Jake Gyllenhaal, he's one of those gangsters in there, and to me, he was a good actor. So I'm actually hoping nothing's wrong with him, and he comes back and he ends up just taking out Vatos Malditos. That's what episode 9 is going to be. They're going to get their revenge. As of right now, there's no renewal on season 3 of the Mayans. They haven't talked about it. In my opinion, I think the Mayans is the season is doing really good, so I think it will get picked up for another season. But I don't know if you know this, but Kurt Sutter, which was like the creator of Sons of Anarchy and also the Mayans, he's no longer like a producer of the Mayans anymore. FX ended up firing him. Supposedly they were saying that he was he was basically a dick, and that's why they ended up firing him. They saw that there was always a lot of hostility during set. He was talking bad about all the actors. That's what they're saying. And Kurt kind of didn't fight it. He basically just took it, saying, all right, maybe you are right. Maybe I was being a dick about it. There's this whole article online. Maybe I'll drop it in the description if you actually want to read it. But he's no longer going to be on the Mayans. And I think this guy's writing is what made Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy was great. Every single season was good, in my opinion. The Mayans was good. And now since Kurt is no longer in the Mayans, I think they might cancel it, or it might not be as good. But I don't know. The one who's taken over is, I think his name was Elgin James. And from what Kurt said, Elgin is basically ready to take the baton and just run with it. So maybe he'll do a little bit better, or maybe he'll do as good as Kurt. But I don't know what the future holds for the Mayans. But I'll continue to talk about it because these next 2 episodes, they're going to be really good. So let me know if you like this video. Comment. Let me know if there's something you want me to review or talk about. And subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.